Tonight, Clinton's case against Trump, how Hillary lame-basted the Donald and accused him of pandering to white supremacists and hate groups. Then how Trump's immigration change has his own staffers struggling to explain it and the Republican base lining up in some cases to slam it. Will it work, this new campaign pivot? Then, is there a silver lining for Shelley Silver, the former powerful Assembly Speaker, convicted of federal corruption charges, but he's free while his appeal is ongoing? Is it possible he could actually walk? Believe it or not. All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. It has certainly been an interesting week here. And speaking of days, only 73 until Election Day. And on this day, the latest numbers show that Hillary Clinton is extending her lead, that according to a new Quinnipiac poll. She's now up by 10 points and also topping 50% in support. And she's also going after Trump's rhetoric, specifically rhetoric deemed hateful by many and some of his particularly hardline supporters' comments. Here she is making her case.
From the start, Donald Trump has built his campaign on prejudice and paranoia. He is taking hate groups mainstream and helping a radical fringe take over the Republican Party. Trump's lack of knowledge or experience or solutions would be bad enough. But what he's doing here is more sinister. Trump is reinforcing harmful stereotypes and offering a dog whistle to his most hateful supporters. It's a disturbing preview of what kind of president he'd be.
Take a look at the ad just released here. Certainly not subtle, but it sure makes the point.
The reason a lot of Klan members like Donald Trump is because a lot of what he believes, we believe in. Donald Trump would be best for the job.
For president.
Yeah.
I am a farmer and white nationalist. Support Donald Trump.
Sending out all the illegals, building a wall, and a moratorium on Islamic immigration. That's very appealing to a lot of ordinary white people.
Voting against Donald Trump at this point is really treason to your heritage.
Will you unequivocally condemn David Duke and say that you don't want his vote or that of other white supremacists?
I don't know anything about white supremacists, so I don't know.
Now, at the end there, you heard Trump refusing to at first denounce David Duke, a former Grand Wizard of the KKK. He's doing right now the same thing with a campaign advisor in New Hampshire who said that Hillary Clinton should face, and these are his own words, a firing squad for treason. And when given an opportunity again to reiterate those remarks or stand away, again, that advisor stood by them completely. When asked about the comment, Trump called that same person who you see there on the screen with the fatigue hat a fine person. And he claimed that that man, he didn't know anything about that supporter's own words here. Perhaps the most striking part is the silence from Republican leaders. I'm talking national leaders. Not one single person of note has come out to Trump's defense. Not a single peep. I want to bring in our panel right now and get into this. Scott Levinson is president of the Advance Group. We have Nan Hayworth, former Republican congressman from New York, and we have Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. And Nan, we talked at length here this week. We've gotten into Hillary's email imbroglios and all the rest. But what is the most startling thing about some of the language that's come out and who aligns himself with Trump and the rest is the complete radio silence from Republican leadership. Not one person has come to Trump's defense, not McConnell, not Ryan, no one, because of not just what Hillary said or anyone else. Trump may denounce and he may call her a bigot, but it is shocking who finds resonance in his language and who doesn't feel the need to defend Trump after some of the most harshest criticism, given some of his own language and his supporters.
Well, I think these leaders have a responsibility to the party. They're sending a message to Donald Trump that he does need to mind his words very carefully. But I would look at a couple of different aspects of this situation. One is obviously, just as mentioned, that Donald Trump does have to be very, very careful about how he crafts his words. And I think Kellyanne Conway, at the very least, is going to help him discipline his rhetoric. She's already done that. I think Donald Trump also has to continue to make the very valid points about policy, because in no way do I believe that Donald Trump is a racist, nor endorses racism, nor endorses white supremacy.
But ask me this, no, just 1 second. Can you name a politician that has even ran for dog catcher, city council, let alone statewide or national office, who not once but twice, when somebody says, David Duke, who everybody knew, he's endorsing you, what do you think? That you can't answer, well, I don't support those comments. And then not once but twice when asked by a person who, by the way, said he shared his concerns about a firing squad for someone says, I have to look into it.
I don't interpret that as, I'm not defending Donald Trump's flights of rhetoric by any means, nor his rhetorical agility. He's not an experienced politician, to be sure. He should be far more aware of these things. I don't think nor should he, and I don't think he is trying implicitly to endorse them. And I think that members of these communities should look very carefully at the policies behind the more soothing, anodyne, sophisticated, conveyed words of someone like Hillary Clinton. The fact alone that she will not take a stand against teachers' unions. She is owned by the teachers' unions.
I get that. This is not about, one second, this is not about a defense of Hillary Clinton. I take it, no, but here's the only thing. I can't, here's what we have Republicans come on the set every night. In fact, I had one who you know, Bill O'Reilly, who now is altogether left the party, okay, because he'll call himself a conservative, but he can't, in good conscience, go here. What Republican, you would never say the things about the Khan family that he did.
No,
you would never make fun of disabled people like this.
No.
You would never say the things about Latinos that he's done.
Absolutely right.
How many passes do we have to give him to say what he is?
I'm not giving him a pass. I'm not giving him a pass. But what I'm saying is this: he needs to employ as a candidate immediately.
It's almost
the kind of, I understand, but this is all, we have to work with if we're going to get better policies that will actually help people in the minority community, because right now they have not been helped. They have not been helped by decades of ill-directed policy and misdirection of capital.
Yeah.
Back to the original question, the reason why no one's defending him, it's self-evident, it's indefensible. You can't defend what Donald Trump has done. You can't defend the character of the candidate. You can't defend the role model he will be to the next 2 generations of our children. He's not being defended by Republicans because it's if you'll excuse me, please, it's indefensible. There is no way that you can say when you're faced with David Duke that you shouldn't, as a national leader, condemn his rhetoric and his actions. It's shameful. And that's what's happening now, Richard, I believe. It's becoming shameful to support Donald Trump. And anybody in good conscience, who can't stand up. I'm sorry. Let me finish, please. But let me finish. But let me finish, if with all due respect. If you could let me finish, please. There does come a point. There does come a point where right-minded people, regardless of party, have to stand up and say, this is unconscionable. This isn't right. This isn't the future. Say it then. Say it. Say it. But you won't.
Just as they should about Hillary Clinton's manipulations.
But is there possibly, Nan, a false choice, which is there are people, look, there's 50 national security leaders, worked in Republican administrations. Yeah. They didn't say they're voting for Hillary. They just said they can't vote for him. They can't give him the launch codes. Are you in that box right now where you can't like either one of them?
Well, I would much prefer to have had our nominee have expressed himself or herself. I was a Carly Fiorina supporter. Express him or herself in ways, and Carly did, in credit to Carly, in ways that were more unifying,
That doesn't cut it.
Scott,
you have an obligation.
Donald Trump is
not more unifying.
Hillary Clinton is the cynic's choice for president.
That's obfuscation.
No, it's not, Scott. She knows she knows how to talk. She doesn't know how not to parse, but she knows how to talk political talk. Donald Trump doesn't. I'm not defending.
But here's the other piece.
I'm not
more
defending
time on
him.
TV than any of the
But I truly don't believe that these are things he espouses. There is no evidence that he does.
He espouses things that he doesn't espouse.
Here is the next thing.
You can't espouse without espousing.
One sec, guys.
Evidence in his life or his
You
business.
can't
This is
espouse
what he
without
does.
espousing.
One sec. The other big
He's
story.
giving you guys an opening, and that's the
Well,
problem.
he has changed. He has pivoted, to your point,
Part of the
that
problem.
U.S. citizens, Kelly Conway's come on board here.
Yeah.
He has tried to
Kelly
soften
is
his dialogue.
brilliant.
Well, he has tried it on one particular issue, and that certainly, as we know this week, is immigration. His pivot could be one of the most surprising things we've seen yet in a very surprising campaign. Basing his campaign throughout the entire primary process on cracking down, building a wall, having the Mexicans pay for it, and deporting all of those that are here in the country illegally. Certainly fired up his base here. He went after primary opponents because he thought they were too soft on the issue, but now he's scaling it back, or maybe it depends on the hour of the answer. Even his own spokespeople are at a loss to defend. I want you to take a listen to one of them because I think it highlights the conundrum his own team is in trying to explain who he is and who he isn't.
He hasn't changed his position on immigration. He's changed the words that he is saying. What he has always said from the beginning is that he does not, that he does not want to allow people to stay in this country illegally. He does want to build a wall, but he wants to work with Congress to get things done. And that's exactly what he has said from the beginning.
Now, Trump's shift doesn't seem to be making everybody or many people happy. He's angering the hardliners, Ann Coulter, Rush Limbaugh. I could go on and on here. Basically, any conservative in front of a microphone say, what the heck's going on here? This isn't the guy that we were promised in the primary. It's even firing up the guy who Trump labeled as low energy during primaries. Take a listen to what Jeb Bush, remember Jeb Bush here, who Trump went after him for being weak-kneed on the subject? This is what Jeb Bush had to say on Donald Trump after his latest position on immigration.
Whatever his views are this morning, they might change this afternoon, and they were different than they were last night, and they'll be different tomorrow. So I can't comment on his views because his views are, they seem to be ever changing depending on what crowd he's in front of. It sounds like a typical politician, by the way, where you get in front of one crowd and say one thing and then say something else to another crowd that may want to hear a different view. All the things that Donald Trump railed against, he seems to be morphing into. It's kind of disturbing.
So I understand on this one, he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. He looks at the map, he looks at every poll, the polls that he's sworn by to this point. He says, I'm trailing by double digits. I look at the maps here, states I have to win. I'm losing terribly. I look at the demographics here. White women, where this is an issue of his temperament and tone, he's getting hurt with, and Latino voters, he's getting crushed. Yeah. So if he's going to do a traditional pivot from a primary to a general, that would be fine if he didn't have a scorched earth campaign in the primary. And worst of all, Nan, he sounds like every other politician that he said he'd never be.
Richard, this is why.
What does he do?
This is why it's in, Dominic, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but this is why we have professional politicians. There is a reason, right? It's just he went into this arena as a media figure, as a reality TV star. He had a lot of recognition. He had billions of dollars worth of publicity that he'd already gotten for himself, right? And he found that he could say whatever he felt like, whatever kind of came into his mind, whatever he thought his audience wanted to hear, and it would be lauded. Well, now he's in a and of course people like me kept saying, why, and telling friends who like Donald Trump, be careful, because once he gets into the general election, this is not necessarily going to go well.
Your old colleagues like Steve King, Republican from Iowa, the biggest hardliner, he's calling it things like fraud right now.
He is.
But who are the supporters that'll be left when it's done?
Look at what Donald Trump's done. He's nefarious and insidious in the way he's run this campaign because all he's cared about is winning news cycles. This is his mentality. To suggest you give him a pass because he doesn't really know what he's doing, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's trying to gain headlines with every news cycle and says
I'm not giving him a pass, but what I'm saying is that he has managed in his amateur way to create more heat than light
okay,
in
here's
all of
what,
these
here's
things.
what I'm wondering, and it's not just
he said a lot of things that
right.
he was never
no,
going to do,
Nan,
I don't think, and never
part,
going to, espouse
here's the part, and I don't
genuinely.
expect you to speak for other people, but obviously you served in Congress not too long ago. You still have friends in Congress, people that are in districts here that could go either way come the fall. And if you look at the latest numbers, the Senate now looking 60-40 in terms of an odds maker standpoint, that it could go back Democrat because of this, because of the top of the ticket.
Right.
Where is that line that you and other moderate Republicans will say, he's found it? I mean, look, Chrissy Todd Whitman, she's going to vote for Hillary. I'm not asking that you go that far, but you to say, in good conscience, I'm going to stay home in November, or I'm going to not vote for a president. I'm going to vote for somebody. I just can't vote for him.
Well,
he's not my Republican.
I would agree that there is much. I have more in common with Gary Johnson's stated positions. In fact, than I do with.
But how close is there to be a revolt from Republicans?
However, strategically, look, this is we are at this remarkable juncture. Precisely because we have had decades of bad policy that have been exacerbated over the past 8 years. People are at a boiling point. They are frustrated. That does not justify, excuse me, decades of Democratic policy, Scott, decades of Democratic.
To me, rather than litigate why we're here, we're here.
It's only been 8 years. So it is, Kellyanne Conway is here to discipline Donald Trump, to make him an effective candidate who actually expresses, I think, what's in his own heart. I don't think in any way that he has a hateful heart toward members of minorities. If I did, I would denounce him immediately and loudly. But I do not feel that that is the case. I do feel that he has been
this is my last question for you. But this is my last question for you, okay? Because you don't have to run for re-election.
Hillary Clinton took money repeatedly
Donald Trump is espousing what's not in his heart.
Who have oppressed
He's just saying
members of
whatever
ethnic
he
minorities,
wants
who have oppressed,
without responsibility.
who have oppressed
gay
citizens.
Guys, we're talking out of turn.
Hillary Clinton has managed.
But you don't have to vote for it.
I don't blame you.
Scott, I got it. But my only point is, you don't have to vote for Hillary. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
So what's the line to say, I can't vote for him?
I think people who are fiscal conservatives. I'm a libertarian Republican. I'm a fiscal conservative. I'm a social libertarian. That's
Chris Chase was on the table with us. Said the same thing and said, "I can't vote for him anymore. I'm voting for her."
I think people like us are going to have to look at Donald Trump day by day to see how he can discipline himself. Because it's going to be, and we'll see. Excuse me, and we'll see, and we will see how. I know what Hillary Clinton would do, and I know what she would do. She will hand this economy over to her buddies, and she will hand urban populations at risk to callous bureaucrats who do not care about them and have no accountability.
So,
that's what I know about Hillary Clinton.
Dom, what I want to know is, to me, as much as this sounds like phony anchor stuff, I really mean this. You need to have two viable parties. This is not helpful right now for checks and balances and everything else, that this thing goes, nuclear. Now, maybe Democrats, they get the Senate, maybe even, who knows how bad it is, they get the House. But it's not healthy the way this is right now.
Well, it's not healthy, and I've been listening to this very lively conversation in which points were made on each side. Now, let me just say, no. Let me just say that, one, I know for a fact Donald Trump is not a racist. He's played the race card this entire campaign because that's what his people have told him to do to win. And the Congresswoman is right that he says he almost has.
As shameful as being a racist in itself.
Well,
if you'll play that card, to me, that's as shameful as anything else.
But how many white politicians have played the race card over time. Not to this degree.
In my lifetime, I've never seen
not to this
George
degree.
Wallace. Okay, you got to go back to George Wallace.
Hillary
Do not make a comparison of Hillary to what you said about Latinos and blacks and everything else.
What I'm saying is that Hillary Clinton has been just as manipulative, not in a negative way. I don't mean it that way, but just
isn't racism. Come on, man.
To me, it's a false. It's a false.
Come on,
answer the question
it is a form of disregard, and it leads to oppression. I'm sorry.
It's okay. If you're looking at this as a minority voter, when you said the viability of two parties, what does it really matter if you have one party that completely ignores you, the other party gets your vote 100% and doesn't do anything for you?
Exactly.
So what does it really matter?
I would say that there's a little bit of a difference, and maybe it ain't perfect. But if there's a little bit of a difference in terms of social safety nets, what some states want to do versus others,
I'll give you that much.
I also think if you want to talk about it, all right, I got to get to a break here. We're at 20 minutes. This is the man. Dean Skello, Shelley Silver, both convicted of federal corruption. Neither one has spent a minute inside a jail cell. The question is, why exactly are they walking around free? We'll get into that after this.